Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you for joining me today for this creation. So I've still got some of my autumnal and fall colour palette, and I want to use this time using a different base colour but creating a swipe across the design using Australian Floetrol to create some lacing and to really look at the composition when we can merge some of these colours in one. So I've got my palette knife ready, I've mixed my colours up, let's get the base colour down, and what I'll do is I'll show you the process step by step. Let me know if you do something like this too, and I'd love to know what fall or autumnal colours mean to you. For me, it's a change in season, it's the start of a transition into something new, a new season evolves, and yeah, I'd really be interested to hear your take on it. So let me just spread this colour out on the base, and then we'll take each colour one by one and layer it on the base colour before we swipe. You'll notice that I've not covered all my canvas with the base colour. That's because when we take each colour one by one and add that to the volume of the paint that's already there and then swipe it through, we're adding the amount of paint onto our canvas. And what we want to do is we want to stretch some of that off down the sides over the edges to get the full coverage on that canvas. So rather than waste some paint, I'm trying to limit what I do push off. And whatever I do push off, I do scrape back up and use as a base colour in another creation. That's just going to help limit any paint waste that we do. So just go through your colour palette, taking one colour at a time and layer it next to each other, one by one. And then what we'll do is we'll use our swipe colour and our palette knife to swipe across all of those colours, and all of those colours will infuse together to create some really detailed lacing. You'll probably have seen already a couple of autumn inspired pieces that I've already done. I'm using exactly the same colour palette, so it's also great to be able to compare what technique really works with what colour palette and what colours really shine out above anything else. So I'm just going to take my torch now to pop any of the air bubbles, and then what we'll do is we will take our Australian Floetrol on the palette knife. It's mixed with titanium white by Amsterdam, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to place the palette knife on top of the first colour. I'm going to allow the paint to connect, so the white's connecting with the colours, and I'm just slowly dragging that palette knife from one side to the other. I'm not applying too much pressure, I'm just allowing that paint to glide across the base colour that we've already layered. I am going to re-swipe some of those edges. For this creation, I don't necessarily want any blocks of colour. I really want this piece to embrace the lacing and fill the full canvas with the lacing that we're creating using this technique. So I'm just going to re-swipe each of those edges to reduce the blocks of colour that you can see on each side. And then I will pick up the creation and tilt it, and I will tilt in the direction that I really want the cells and the lacing to kind of be the focal point of. So I'm thinking that I need to get rid of the left side that you can see now, completely over the edge. But let's see how this transforms. Let's see what works and what doesn't as we pick up our paint and our canvas and tilt from side to side. Let me just show you some of that detail before we stretch the design out. And I absolutely love how some of those red cells are popping through. You can see how the green and yellow have merged together there. And I really do love that detail. I'm not so happy with that bit. We can push that over though, because we've got a lot of paint on our canvas, so we can push that off the edge. So I've shown you some of the detail. Let's go back now. Let's pick up our canvas, and all we're going to do is we're going to walk the paint across the canvas and then push it over the edges. And by walking the paint, I mean by just doing a side-to-side motion, allowing the paint to flow across the canvas without distorting the lacing too much. You can do that because you've got the base colour. If you didn't necessarily have the base colour there, I'd suggest adding just a little bit of flow extender to your design. But I've got enough colour and enough paint here, and I'm literally just going to go for it. I'm going to push this over the edge and down the side. And I'm just going to do that one step at a time. I'm going to push the paints over the edge, allow it to drip down, and then move the paint back on itself. So I've got good coverage. I think I'm going to just go for it now. I'm just going to push the paints over the edge and then bring it back on itself. I'm going to turn the canvas when I need to. You'll get a feel for the weight of the paint and where it is. I'm really loving those red cells, so I am going to stretch that out even more. That bottom bit there on the left that you can see on your screen, that's a lot better now. That's got some shape to it. So now it's just about looking at your composition and stretching out the design as you want to stretch it out. And just a reminder to take your time with this process. Don't rush it. Just allow yourself that time. Really look at the creation as it evolves and as it transforms when you're stretching. You'll get to know what areas you really like and the areas that you're not so keen on. So when you're looking at your piece and thinking, I'm not so keen on a certain area, make that your focus point to kind of push the paint over the edge and get rid of that area. You can then turn your canvas when you need to help with the control and the flow, and just push the paint and the creation itself over the sides that you want it to focus on. So here I really do like that red, so I'm stretching out that red a little bit more to allow it to take form over that half of the canvas. And don't forget to move the paint back on itself again, so when you go through the drying process, there's a consistent layer of paint on the surface of your canvas. If some of the areas are bigger than others in terms of volume, then there is that risk that when it dries, you may get cracking. So remember, this is all about your own taste, your own composition, and you get to know when you want to stretch something over the side and get rid of it, or stretch out the design so it takes a focal point. Okay, so I'm happy with this. I'm going to tidy up my edges, and what I'll do is I'll take you in now for a close-up of the wet version, but stick around so I can show you the close-up of the dry version too. And you can see how those colours really work together. You can see some of the base colour, again everything's listed in the description box, pops through on that outer edge. And then we go through all those colours where you can see the browns and the reds, the yellows and the green, all infused together to make this piece really interesting. I'd love to know what you think. Let me know if you're trying this, but really take some time to appreciate the details that you've created too. There's a lot of lacing in this one, and the colours are just really intriguing in terms of how they really look and the feel that it gives this piece to make it an autumnal fall swipe. And here we go, the dried version. I let this dry for a few days. The temperatures were a bit cooler, so it took a little bit longer to dry. I won't varnish this for another couple of weeks because I really want the piece to cure and fully dry. It may look dry to the touch, but believe me that there will still be some moisture within this creation. So don't seal your pieces too quickly. Allow some time between each stage of the process. And I will varnish this piece. I'll use a Winsor & Newton gloss spray varnish. And I'll pop that on my social media, Facebook and Instagram account, so you can see the final version once it's varnished. I hope you've enjoyed this process. I really hope you like some of the details that we were able to create within this piece using the swipe technique and by using an autumnal colour palette. You can see here how some of those colours are really infused together, and yeah, I'm really happy with this. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Have a great week, everyone. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.